Good afternoon, everybody. Shavua Tov, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm your host, Rolene Marks, and let's take a look at today's top stories. So before we get into today's top stories, let's recap what has happened over the weekend, because it kind of gradually flows into what is happening in Israel today. So let's go to Friday afternoon. Now, from March last year, there have been weekly Friday riots on the border between Gaza and Israel. Now, Hamas would have you believe that this is under the guise of right of return. They're marching, they want to come back to living in lands that they see was taken from them in 1948. The reality of it all is that these are not or don't have anything to do with returning, but are really, really violent. And this past Friday, these riots were particularly violent, and this comes as tensions have been rising over the last couple of weeks on the southern border between Hamas and Israel. And as a result, 2 Palestinians were killed, and Hamas swore reprisals for this. And on Friday night, launched 5 rockets and mortars from the Gaza Strip into Israel, setting off the code red. One projectile landed very close to a house in Sderot, which is about a kilometer from the border with Gaza. Thank goodness there was no damage or casualties. Following this, Hamas also launched a killer drone. This seems to be a new tactic that is being used by Iranian proxies. We saw it over the last couple of weeks with Hezbollah in the north, now Hamas in the south. And in response to this and rocket attacks, the IDF struck Hamas targets within the Gaza Strip, as well as taking out the cell responsible for firing the drone into Israel. Coupled with this, on Friday afternoon, a 60-year-old Israeli man and his 17-year-old son were stabbed, the 17-year-old quite critically, when they visited their Palestinian dentist in Ofakim in the West Bank. Now, the dentist heard the screaming of the 2 men who were approached by a Palestinian youth who asked them if they were Jewish, and when they responded in Arabic, because they had seen the knife in his hand, he immediately launched at them, and as they screamed, so the Palestinian dentist came out to assist them and saved their lives. This Palestinian, incidentally, is now being the recipient of death threats for saving their lives. And just last night, or rather early hours of this morning, the Syrian Observatory said that an unidentified jet aircraft struck Iranian targets very close to the Syrian-Iranian border. Now, we know that over the last couple of months or so, Iranian targets have been struck by the IDF before they strike targets in Israel or in reprisal to them launching attacks against Israel. In this case, it is still unidentified whether or not these were Israeli planes. But it does look like the situation both in the north and in the south is significantly tense, and we just hope as we approach the elections next week that it quietens down. We are just a week away from the second elections this year, and it is not unusual for these terror entities to try and take advantage of this time to create further tension. In more local news, and yesterday it was reported that Israel's foreign ministry, due to lack of funds, had frozen all diplomatic activity. Well, today the ministry got a much-needed bailout. We don't know how much from the finance ministry, who have given the foreign ministry a much-needed cash injection so that they can carry on doing the vital work that they do around the world with their diplomatic missions. And this comes at a time where we do see a significant increase of tensions between Iran, Israel, and all parties. And early this morning, it was reported that last year the Mossad, who had recovered in one of the most extraordinary feats that the Mossad have ever undertaken, the nuclear program, and brought it back to Israel. And Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his address to the UN General Assembly last year, spoke of a few sites where there was uranium being enriched. Well, we have reports from the IAEA this morning that one of the sites that Iran had previously refused them entry does have traces of uranium being enriched. So once again, we can thank Mossad for exposing the dangers that face Israel. Turning further afield to Poland, and this is a very, very disturbing story. It broke on social media yesterday and now has made the major news. A group of Israelis were attacked by a group of Arabs. We now know that they were a group from Qatar who approached this group of Israelis and asked if they were from Israel. And when they answered that yes, they were, their attackers responded by saying, "If Israel," I can't of course say the word here, it is a respectable news broadcast service, but the group said "If Israel" and "Free Gaza," and proceeded to beat up the group. One member of the group, his name is Yotam, he was severely beaten. There are pictures of him on social media. His ocular bone over here was broken by these men who were carrying knuckle dusters. And what makes this even more disturbing was that not one witness stepped forward to help them. And this comes as anti-Semitism is rising to alarming levels around the world. And in final news, there is a very, very special man who we have to wish happy birthday. So happy birthday from all of us to President Rivlin, who turns 80 today. Yom Huledet Sameach, President Rivlin. He is the country's Saba, he's our grandfather. He is much beloved by the people of Israel, and we wish him a wonderful, wonderful and blessed birthday to 120. And may you be blessed with everything that you wish for. Now, don't forget that you can read our awesome content online at www.layoftheland.online. That's www.layoftheland.online. You can read Dave's article called The Double Disgrace, which involves Rashida Tlaib basically blaming Israel for honor killings and the honor killing of Isra Hayeb, which gained major headlines around the news last week. It is really a double disgrace, and you can read it online there. Also, if you don't catch it on our website, you can catch it online on our Facebook page. While you're there, join our growing community by liking us or following us and sharing our content. And if you like your content on various social media sites, the Israel Brief has a YouTube channel. So if you're not viewing this on Facebook, or if you would like to view it on YouTube, simply check us out at the Israel Brief, and don't forget to click on the subscribe button there. I'm Rolene Marks with today's headlines and a recap of the major stories over the weekend, and we'll chat again tomorrow.